All right, I would like to call to order the Monday, February 7th meeting of the City of Winona Finance and Personnel Committee. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alder Wood.
Here.
Alder Thomas. Here. Mayor O'Connor.
Here. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the July 18th meeting?
So move.
Second.
Any corrections or additions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. We have no appearances that I'm aware of. There's no unfinished business. We've got a couple items under new business. Item 6A, consideration of resolution 22-2-2541, approving a memorandum of understanding with Firefighters Local 311 correcting annual hours worked. Is there a motion to approve this?
So move.
Second.
Chief, you going to address this or?
Yeah, good evening. So this came to light probably mid last year. We spent the remainder of the time trying to figure out exactly what had happened here. So we approved the contract this last go around, which would have been the end of 20. I'm sorry. We reduced hours from 29.20 annually to 27.52, from 56 to 53 hours a week, basically. So we accomplished that by 7 24-hour shifts that they were reduced on throughout the year per employee. Throughout the contract, 27.52 is actually the correct number because it's 168 hours from 29.20. When we did the wage tables, and again, nobody caught it until about 6 months through the year, what Leah did is she went from 56 to 53 hours a week instead of the 168-hour reduction. So what it did is that hour amount is off by 4 hours. So if you take 29.20, it's 56 hours a week. If you just do 53 hours a week times 52, it comes up to 27.56. It's actually 27.52, which where that's located at affected the wage table, their base wage, by like 4 cents an hour. So again, it's taken us a few months to try and figure out what actually happened here. We worked our way through the contract. Everything else is right. It's just the wage table, which is Article 31, is the area that it has 27.56 instead of 27.52. So I believe Leah went through and recalculated the base wages, the whatever overtime was paid out last year, which would have been an increase of 2 cents an hour, I think. So she's got all the numbers. I don't know what the actual numbers are. She was still working on it on Friday. But that's what this is for, is basically a change to their base wage to reflect the 27.52 hours a year instead of 27.56. And everything else in the contract is correct hours-wise. It's just this one article, which is the wage table.
Questions, anyone? Is this making a difference in how much the total is we're spending on salary for the year?
Very minute. I believe it worked out to like the back pay is going to be like $140, I think, per employee. Very small amounts. And it was actually less than that until we realized we actually had to go back and recalculate holiday pay and overtime pay and all that as well, which was half of that. So it's 2 cents an hour instead of 4 cents an hour. So that's what took a lot of time on Leah's part, was to go through and recalculate everything. I believe she has that completed. I just don't know what the total dollar amount is. I'm going to guess probably in the $1,000, $1,500 range overall.
So we don't have to make sure there's more money allocated for this or anything. It's covered by what's in the budget. Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes.
Thank
you, Chair. Next item 6B, consideration of Ordinance 2-22-748, amending Chapter 321 of the Code of Ordinances, regulating the commercial use of parks and requiring a permit. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move to approve.
Second.
Jake.
Good evening, Mayor O'Connor and Alders Wood and Thomas. So this item kind of popped up during COVID with cases around the city where we started noticing private businesses and organizations advertising promotions of activities using general park space. This is kind of a theme throughout the nation on having areas that aren't typical park shelters or soccer fields, athletic fields, where people will say, hey, come to a boot camp at Wild Haven Park, for example, or a yoga class at Crossroads Beach, and that we're not aware of it. It may conflict with the general use of the park or in maintenance activities that we have scheduled for that particular park. So we drafted a policy of an ordinance change that would permit activities. Right now, we have nothing in the ordinance that could prohibit those type of activities occurring in our park system during park hours. This would give us a path to allow those activities in certain areas at certain parks at certain times, and also the ordinance ability to not allow such activities if they weren't compatible with the use of said park. So I think you have that ordinance review in your packet along with the policy.
Alder Thomas.
So, Jake, is there a limited, is there a time limit on how long and how much space?
Yeah, so we would limit the space to restricted, certain parks would have like green space available. And those would be identified in a permit process. So I think in the fee structure, we had either a single time event, multiple up to 6 times, or over 6, less than 12 in a calendar year. The time, I think we can decide, I would say 2 hours is probably what you're looking at for typical use of such space. Generally, we're talking about exercise classes. Some of the other activities we've had were like nature-based programming at Woodland Park, but I would be comfortable. I don't think we talked about a time limit at Parks Board, but I would recommend we look at it no more than 2 hours at a particular space per event.
Yeah, that would be my concern, that you have a time limit and that you have a space limit so that it doesn't affect, technically, if you don't do that, it affects things like the 4th of July festival, because that's a commercial thing to raise money, but it's a city sanctioned function. So that's the other thing that you may want to give yourself some wiggle room to allow for city sanctioned or park and rec sanctioned activities.
Correct. Yeah, so the festival gets an exclusive use of park permit, which is already built into our ordinance that allows them to have the entire park for an extended period of time. This kind of falls within a gray area of, like, it's not a soccer field, it's not a baseball field that any group or organization can reserve for an exclusive use for a period of time. We also limited the amount of people to 50 people or less at the locations that were listed in the packet. So no more than 50 people in this type of activity, but it may be like the grass area at Ridge Road Park, for example, would be a good setting for that type of activity. But what we were seeing were either businesses that wanted to use the activity deck at Grand Crossing Park, for example, or a yoga class at Wild Haven Park, and we anticipate those potentially having conflicting uses for either general park use, maintenance of those park areas during the times that we be doing maintenance. And really, we just want to know what's going on and where they're at. We can adjust things for a certain amount of time, but then there's some of those areas where we may say, that's not while it may be a great use for your business to have the class, it may impact the general use of that park to an extent that we need to find a different place for you to have that activity.
Yeah, they used to do canoe lessons down at Frost Woods, for example.
Exactly. Right. Yeah, it'd be like a canoe company that just came in and started doing lessons at Frostwoods Beach, didn't tell us, and then all of a sudden Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 4 hours we have 40 people using the beach, and that would interfere with the general use of that park. So this ordinance would allow us to prohibit those activities in certain areas or allow them in other areas in our park system.
Anyone else? Doug, I assume you've talked about this a lot, so.
Yeah, it's an idea Jake has talked about and the park board has talked about for a while, so.
And these are all cases where they are charging people a fee.
Correct. Yes, this wouldn't impact if you and your friends are walking through our park system, or you have friends that you get together and do. yoga together in a group setting. You can do those all you want, use the parks as you may. It's really for those businesses and organizations that are charging a fee for a particular class or program, and then using our facilities.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes. Next item, 6C, consideration of resolution 22-2-2540, authorizing beer sales by Parks and Recreation staff during 2022 special events. Is there a motion to approve this?
Move approval.
Second.
Dick?
Right. Yep, thank you. So this is our annual permitting request to be able to sell beer at parks. There's a state statute that we're aware of that allows for that activity. In the years past, we specified the individual dates of those beer gardens and events. Sometimes we get rain cancellations. Sometimes we have additional programming that may support an additional event that we'd like to sell beer at. Talking with Park Board, we have Grand Crossing Park that we would like to activate. We have the potential to do events that have not yet been determined with other organizations, agencies like Friends of San Damiano or MESPA, for example, that we could partner with and sell the beer. So this year we're asking for and not to exceed a certain number of events. In your packet, you have at least the initial schedule that we're looking at for events that would be selling beer, but we would like the opportunity to have some flexibility within that. So this was approved at our last Park Board meeting to have up to 35 events that we would be able to sell beer at in Winona parks.
Questions or comments? So you're planning on a beer garden every week? Is that the?
Right now, we're looking at each Thursdays, 2 in May, May through September, at both 2 at Schluter and then 2 at Grand Crossing. We're still potentially working with Buck and Honey's for Grand Crossing for some combination events. We have to work through some of the logistical details of alcohol sales or beer sales by business on park property versus us selling beer on park property. So the goal is to look at a partnership, but we are looking to activate Grand Crossing Park this summer and kind of be able to have some consistency on how we recruit for staff. And those dates may end up being something at other parks, not Grand Crossing. Maybe it's Bridge Road or San Damiano, et cetera. But ideally, we can offer some sort of activity on Thursday nights.
Are you also going to include the concerts that the seniors sponsor?
Yes, older comments. Yep, those are listed in there. That's part of this, that we would have the flexibility of doing up to the 4 concerts that the Friends of the Senior Center are offering.
Sounds like a very social summer.
We are ready to get back to very much normal in Park and Rec world for the summer, Mayor.
Any other questions? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next item D, acceptance of general fund accounts payable checks dated January 14th to February 3rd, 2022. Documentation of invoices paid is available in the city clerk's office. Mark.
Yeah. So we'll start on page 18. Page 18, this is the January settlement for the tax districts. So what's collected through December, we have to pay their portion over. Dane County tells us what we have to pay. Madison College is not on here. They do a wire transfer. Page 19, Bird City, Wisconsin. Just renewed our Bird City renewal that we're part of. Page 20, Dane County LWRD, the Mansoft program, stormwater, budgeted. You see a lot of overpayments too for taxes. We'll see some repayment refunds for those. Page 21, ice builder supplies, ice skates for Grand Crescent Parks. Page 24, Very last bottom item is our Phase 2 land, Inc. That is our last developers agreement payment. It's paid out. You met the requirements.
I had one other question on that page. I'm just curious, Wisconsin Department of Justice time system access, what is that? For 422, it's up about 3 items above the Yahara.
422. That's the system for our dispatchers they use. I'm not sure what the actual system is. We've been paying it for years and years and years that they have access to.
Is that how they just track their time or something? Or Doug, did you know?
No, it's not. Hold on.
The court clerk uses it too, and it's not a time tracking program. I'm trying to remember now what it does. It provides proof for the person, but I can't remember now what it is. Mark, maybe.
Maybe
It's
Jerry.
just so they have access to information. It's not actually clocking their time. It's just-
Right.
Yeah, so that's the state system to be able to run license plates, driver's licenses.
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So every one of our dispatchers have to be time certified, and then you have to have a license for each of the police vehicles. So time is just the acronym for what the state calls their data access system for license,
Oh, okay.
driver's
Nothing
license.
to do with time then.
No.
Oh, no.
I don't know why I've never noticed it before, but anyway. Okay, Mark, continue. Thank you.
Just on page 27, the very bottom, Kill Gas Mechanical. These are quarterly maintenance agreements that we have. Just, on those. Page 28, Johnson Tree Care, ash tree removal. We're starting up the new 2022 capital budget. Starting the removal of the ash trees again. That's all I have. Oh. That's all I have.
Any questions? That's it?
Yeah.
Does anyone else have any questions about the bills? Is there a motion to accept the bills?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 We are adjourned and we will see you on the other side.
See you then.